Welcome back to On to the Next Thing. I'm your host, Michael, and we have exactly two topics to go through today. Today is June 14th, 2026. Our two topics for the day are going to be why you gotta get the fuck out of other banks and just do a fucking credit union, and then Nestlings by who's this guy? It's a guy, by the way. Nat Cassidy. All right. We're going to talk about these two things for the next, hopefully, like 45 minutes. But before we got to do that, we got to go into bird news. Okay, our bird news for this week, not gonna give it any qualifiers to disavow of this bird news, but it could be a little bit better. But we'll start off with a good one. This is from Science Alert. Mystery predator that butchered ancient birds is finally unmasked. This is from Nature by Michael Irving from like 2 days ago, 14th of June. For years, a mysterious predator haunted the fossil beds of Changma Basin in northwest China. The site is known for a stunning aviary of fossilized birds, including some of the earliest known specimens from the group that gave rise to modern birds. But these specimens often turned up as broken fragments, including pellets that looked suspiciously like those coughed up by modern predatory birds, such as hawks and owls. Something, it seemed, was hunting these early birds. Now, paleontologists believe they may have identified the culprit, a new genus and species of carnivorous dinosaur. Quote, scientists have found these weird broken up clusters of bird bones at this site, and we didn't know what made them. This new Microraptor dinosaur, John Changmanensis, okay, I know which country this was discovered in, is our best guess, says, Jingmai O'Connor, a paleontologist at the Field Museum in Chicago and senior author of a paper describing the new species. Obviously, I was saying that this dinosaur was discovered in Chicago. Anyway, quote, it's the only dinosaur found at this site that wasn't a bird. It was a carnivore, and it was much bigger than everything else that we found there. It may not have been a bird, but with its feathers and wing-like appendages, John sure looked like one. But there was some major differences, too. It sported a saurian snout in place of a beak, a long tail, and unfortunately, for the local bird population, curved claws on its toes. If that weapon of choice sounds familiar, it's probably because some of John's cousins have been brandishing them on the big screen for more than 30 years. John was much smaller than Velociraptor, though, even when you take Hollywood embellishments out of the equation. The new species belongs to a separate clade called Microraptors, and among its closer relatives, John was a monster. John is one of the biggest Microraptor specimens that has ever been found, said O'Connor. This piece of its upper arm bone that we have is about 4 inches, 10 centimeters, long, so the entire dinosaur probably had something like a 4-foot, 1.2 meter, wingspan, around the size of a barn owl. In fact, this arm bone is the only piece of John that we currently have, and that's reflected in its name. The genus name is inspired by John, a one-winged bird in Chinese mythology. The species epithet, Changmanensis, is named after the Changma locality in China, where the remains were found. Not Chicago, as it turns out. Despite the fragmented fossil, its discoverers used what is learned... Despite its fragmented fossil, Hey, note to the editor. Big edit right here. Despite the fragmented fossil, its discoverers used what is known about the related species of Microraptors to infer more about John. They believed it probably had long feathers, not just on its forelimbs, but its legs too, giving it 4 wings in a sense. John and the other Microraptors probably weren't capable of true powered flight, but they could probably glide like a flying squirrel, says O'Connor. That, it seems, was enough to hunt down birds that were capable of flight. And judging by the fossils that dominate the site, John had a veritable buffet to dine on. Our team has recovered more than 100 bird fossils at Changma, but only the signal non-avian dinosaur specimen, says Matt Lamana, a paleontologist at the Carnegie Museum of Natural History. John provides critical new insight into the biological history of the Changma region and the ecological context of the ancestors of today's birds. The research was published in the Annals Annals of Carnegie Museum. Boom. All right, that's one article from Bird News. What was the other one? Ooh, this sucks. 445 birds euthanized after bird flu found at Providence Business. Is this Providence, Rhode Island? Providence, WPRI. I would assume Rhode Island. Providence, Rhode Island. Yep, it's Providence, Rhode Island. Live ducks and chickens. Ooh, that sucks. Out-of-state dealers. Ooh, that sucks. Not really that important. Other than, yeah, it's bird flu. This is Rhode Island's first confirmed domestic bird flu case in 2026. Boom, that sucks. That's too bad. I'm really sorry to hear that, honestly. You don't want to hear birds euthanized. That's not a pleasant aspect of bird news. Okay, what else we got? Boom, 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 boom. We had something else. Dollywood eagles are still loose, and one was spotted in Knoxville. This is from fuck-ass Knoxville, Tennessee. All right, close out the ad. Obviously, because there's always going to be an ad. Dollywood eagles are still loose, and one was spotted in Knoxville. This is by Deverick Turner. Who the fuck names these people? All right, this is from the Knoxville News Sentinel. 2 bald eagles that escaped from Dollywood's Eagle Mountain Sanctuary nearly 2 months ago remain on the loose, according to the American Eagle Foundation. This is as of June 13th, which is like yesterday. So hopefully maybe they were found. I don't know. Close another ad. Oh my god, I'm going to get a pop-up. Oh my god, I'm going to get a pop-up. Please no, please no. Okay, we're good. We receive calls daily regarding sightings, primarily of Rockland, who has been relocated in the Carnes neighborhood of Knoxville, American Eagle Foundation CEO Lori Moore says. Wesley has been more elusive, but the last confirmed sighting was in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Well, I'd say, Wesley, you're on the right track. Pigeons are fat as fuck. You can eat as many of them as you want. I know, because I've been out there, and I've been eating pigeons. 3 bald eagles escaped after an overnight storm damaged part of the Dollywood Sanctuary enclosure on April 19th. One eagle, Caesar, was safely recovered in May. Obviously not the Caesar of Planet of the Apes fame, otherwise he would have taken control of the rest of the eagles, taught them how to speak English, and broken them from the yoke of man. The search continues for Rockland and Wesley. Dollywood's 30,000 square foot aviary houses the country's largest presentation of non-releasable bald eagles, according to the theme park. Rockland and Wesley were there because they had wing injuries. Ask yourself if you want to wake up proud of what you... Okay, that was an ad. Sorry. The American Eagle Foundation has been tracking the 2 birds and responding to the sightings in hopes of safely retrieving them with the help of tips from the public, but recovering them has been tricky. Quote, they are less likely to respond if they are locating food successfully on their own, Moore said. Rockland, apparently healthy in recent photos, Moore added. Rockland appears healthy in recent photos, but the organization had not received photos of Wesley as of June 11th to visually assess how the eagle was doing. Rockland spotted in Carnes. One of the most recent sightings of Rockland was in a neighborhood in Carnes. Local photographer Jeremy Wiggs spent several days capturing photos of the eagle as it perched on rooftops and roamed through the area in early July. To be able to get out there and zoom in with my lens and be able to just get that close to it and see so many of the details, so many of the things that you normally wouldn't see was a very unique experience, Wiggs said. The eagle appeared calm around people and seemed focused on surveying its surroundings, he said. Quote, he did not seem to be struggling flying, Wiggs observed. I'm not an eagle expert, but when he took off and he jumped off the ledge and he took off flying and he seemed to have a lot of strength. Nailed it, Wiggs. Wiggs said he was most surprised by how far the bird appears to have traveled since escaping from Dollywood. I mean, Pigeon Forge to West Knoxville isn't exactly super close by to me, he said. It's about a 40-mile drive. Hey, guess what, dumbass? Eagles don't drive. Booyah! Big win for bird news. Rockland's appearance quickly became a topic of conversation among residents in the Carnes neighborhood. There was a lot of mixed emotions from the community, Wiggs said. Some people believed the bald eagle should be left alone despite having eaten ducks in the area, while others wanted the eagle to return to the sanctuary as soon as possible. That's fucking awesome if it's eating ducks. That would be so fucking cool to see as a bird watcher. Just saying. Not necessarily cool from an ecological standpoint. I don't know the ecological capacity of this part of Knoxville, but just saying that would be pretty sweet to watch. Anyway, quote, overall, people were just blown away at... Okay, this is not a complete sentence, but let's just roll with it. Overall, people were just blown away at Wow, this happened where we live, Wiggs added. What to do if you see one of the missing eagles? Anyone who believes they have spotted Rockland or Wesley should contact the American Eagle Foundation at 865-429-0157. That is 865-429-0157. Moore said the report should include the exact location, nearby landmarks, the time the bird was seen, photos or video taken from a safe distance. Quote, flighted eagles are hard to track, so specificity is crucial, she explained. Rockland is a male eagle and can be identified by an orange leg band, according to the American Eagle Foundation. Wesley is a female bald eagle with a black leg band. However, her band is much smaller and might be hard to see to dumbasses like you, so the foundation noted. They did not call you dumbasses. That was simply an embellishment by me for Bird News. Alright, what's the last paragraph? People should only observe from a safe distance. The Foundation is asking people not to chase or attempt to capture any eagle because they are wild eagles. Because they are wild animals. People should also not feed them because they are an important part of the avian care specialist's attempt to capture them. Boop, 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 boop. Alright, Deverick Turner is a trending news reporter. Thank you, Deverick. Alright, that was some pretty good bird news. Let's get to the topics of the day. Holy shit, the local wildcats are absolutely dominating the scenery over here. They are pouncing on the free chairs. They are blocking my light, which is annoying because I use that light in order to see my shitty handwritten notes. What the fuck is your problem? Let's check my notes just to make sure I know what I'm actually going for here. Yeah, episode, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Hey, everybody, all right, it's cool. Drum, yep. Okay, definitely didn't, Yep, okay, those are all my notes. All right, so I definitely have like a couple of notes here. Not that, obviously, you dumbass. Yeah, we're just gonna have to keep going, and we're probably just gonna have to keep editing to make sure I can actually fill out the time here for the podcast episode. Page, blah blah blah. That's not it. That's for work. Yep. Also for work. Lumen, credit union, obsession. Okay. All right. First, we're gonna do. Hey, real life advice, people. Okay. We're gonna bring in some real. Oh my God. You guys are yowling. Shut up. Shut up or get up here, all right? Get up here or speak your piece. Speak your fucking piece! Okay, they aren't going to speak their piece. All right. Fuzz is going fucking wild right now. He needs to speak his fucking piece. Baby boy. All right, real life advice. Not going to diss any particular bank right now because I don't want to get assassinated, but join a credit union, okay? This is just going to be straight up. This is literally 5 minutes of advice right here. Join a credit union. Do you have one near where you are? Look up banks where you live. Hell, don't even look up banks. Look up credit unions near where you live. There probably is going to be one. They literally exist because they're trying to like outcompete banks by being like less shitty to customers. That's like most of their whole thing. Sometimes some of them are a little bit more fucked up than others, but usually you're going to get better interest rates. You're not going to get all the fees in your accounts, and some of them will pay back ATM fees, so you can get just like a debit card from them, and then you can use it in any ATM, and they will refund the ATM fees. So it totally, like, I will 100% disavow what I said before. Don't bother with bullshit regional banks. They have a lot of ATMs. They're just trying to trick you, because if you just do like a good credit union, they're probably more likely than not gonna refund that ATM fee. So fuck all those regional banks. Fuck Citizens Bank. Sorry, did that one legitimately. Individual bank. Citizens Bank sucks dick. They're terrible. Don't do that. All right. I don't give a fuck. All right. We're not getting sponsored by them. It's not slander. This is just my pure opinion right here. They're bad. Just do anything else. But if you're gonna do anything else, do a credit union, because they're just gonna be better. All right, they're not gonna fuck you. It just might be if your credit is bad, like if your ability to pay things back is bad, they might not take you on. But generally speaking, if you've managed to pay back anything in the past 10 years, there's probably a credit union that will take you on, and they'll probably be better than your local bank. So roll with that shit. Just saying. I can't say that's a guarantee, but that's probably about as close to a guarantee as I can get. This is not. That is true. I already said this is not a guarantee. This is not a financial guarantee.
Say that explicitly.
This is not a financial guarantee. I already said that a couple times. This is not financial advice. This has never been a financial advice podcast, but seriously, just go and do the other thing, all right? Don't go Citizens Bank. Not financial advice, all right? Not legit advice, okay? This is just an opinion. This is a singular opinion, but seriously, just fucking do the other thing, okay? Do the other thing I said. Don't do the fucking banks, all right? Just saying. Not a financial advice. All right, moving on to the book. All right, I've started on another book since then. I'm getting into a bunch of other shit. I'm trying to do some legit literature. But before I get into the legit literature, I did burn through another sweet horror novel by Nat Cassidy, known New York urban horror author. This book is called Nestlings. All right, it's I tell you what, it is. I'll put it out straight away. It is basically a book talk book. It has a fucking tagline below it, like a Netflix DVD or like a Redbox DVD. Hey, if any of you are old enough to remember Redbox, remember how they would have it would just be like a DVD cover or like just like a hardcover, like title cover, like they would have on a VHS or a DVD or whatever. This is for the people who are old enough to remember that. If you're too young, don't bother. Don't just skip this part. This doesn't matter. But taglines, some books have them because they want to get the people who are like younger millennials who remember Redbox DVDs that have taglines. And so there's the title, which is Nestlings, and then there's a tagline, which normally is supposed to hook you in. It's supposed to be like, there's no way out, or it's like some wordplay where it's like, they're gonna nest you up, something like that. That's not wordplay, but it would be something like that. Anyway, the tagline here for Nestlings is, there's no place like home. And then the cover page, or the cover is like a possibly AI figure of like a skeletal bird with like a skeleton skull in the nest. And it's a little bit disturbing, but it's kind of more disturbing now that I know how AI works, because this was published, I believe, in about 2020. I'm hoping like 2022, before AI was like really fucking prevalent. 2023, so that's like borderline. I'm thinking that probably someone designed this. Just designed it as like a kind of a ambivalent design that wasn't going to spoil the entire book. And so that's cool, because it doesn't spoil the entire book, other than saying that it's in New York City, because it has the New York City skyline in shadow behind it. But as I said, the cover is like a skeletal bird with like a human skull in the nest, which doesn't really make any sense, but it's whatever. It's obviously about like raising a kid, or like pregnancy, or whatever. I don't remember any of it. Psych, of course I remember. I fucking read this shit. Anyway, I don't want to go necessarily too deep into spoilers about this, but I will say that I do recommend this book, because it has a little bit of everything for anybody. As long as you're like remotely into horror as a genre. If you're not into horror as a genre, it's going to be way too distressing for you. I don't even know why you're listening to this podcast, because this podcast has mostly been reviews for horror novels. and discussions about horrible topics in a rather abrasive way. So I don't know why you would be listening. But if you're not into horror, I guess don't read this. But if you're into any type of horror, this has like just about everything. Do you like shitty relationships? It's got it. Do you like Rosemary's Baby type shitty evil babies? You got it. Do you like evil rich people? It's in there. Do you like evil buildings? In there. It's good. Do you like horror stories that are centered around women's I guess technically it would be called women's issues, I suppose. But particularly pregnancy and the patriarchal idea that you need to be there for your kid all the time while your husband like goes and provides for the family or whatever. You'll like that. You'll like perversions of that shit. Um, do you like total rejections of that shit to the point where it's legitimately disturbing? You'll like that. Do you like Jewish people? Great, you're gonna love this. Do you dislike Jewish people? You might still like this. That's the disturbing part of this book. You still might like this. It literally has everything. Do you like New York? Do you dislike New York? It's all there. I'm telling you. It's really all there. It has something for everybody. If you dislike or like any of these topics, you're gonna enjoy some part of this book. It's possible you won't like any of it. It's possible you're just gonna be like, ooh, this is too depressing or too nasty. It's not particularly gory. It's not particularly gory in like any like super gory way, but it is definitely kind of gross. It definitely has it has a little bit of body horror to an extent. It's not like super body horror oriented, but there is like a little bit of body horror in some of the interim chapters. And if you might be going through it and you're like, wow, this is a really well written horror novel written by a really smart whip smart wisecracking woman, and it's like, you're wrong. This is actually written by a straight man. I was extremely confused by this. Okay? I was extremely confused by this. And you might be able to just call me an idiot right here. You might be like, Michael, you're so fucking dumb. You can't even figure out the tone of the author. You can't even figure out that the author has a fucking goatee and looks like a fucking musician that you enjoy. You're fucking stupid. But yeah, I mean, I legitimately thought, just based off of my experience with reading female authors, I really did think, at least for a little while, and for pretty much most of this novel. In fact, for the entirety of this novel, I was comfortable with the idea that this author was born a woman, a cis woman. But in fact, this was a cis straight man who has just lives with his wife in New York, and so it was actually pretty. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if necessarily you're going to find it super impressive. Maybe you'll find it just like totally ham-fisted in the other direction of what you would expect a straight male author stuck in New York with his wife would write. You might say that it's kind of just trying to portray the opposite perspective of what a man who's trying to start a family in a place as hectic and expensive as New York might try to do. But yeah, I don't know. It was very, I wouldn't say effective, but it certainly felt authentic. In the acknowledgments, the the author is not afraid to say that that he researched a lot of the topics that he was trying to portray in the novel related to pregnancy and the postpartum psychology, I suppose. I guess that's another trigger warning in the book. If you don't like postpartum stuff, I probably wouldn't read this because it's going to definitely freak you the fuck out. But yeah, honestly, decently well written. I do agree that certain, like a lot of the characters, were written pretty unpleasantly, and the author does acknowledge that. In the acknowledgments of the book, if you're the type of dork who's going to read the acknowledgments like me, that the characters were kind of written unpleasantly to a certain purpose, because you don't necessarily want your, you don't always want your characters to be angels, especially when you're writing a kind of, well, I guess in his case, he thought that because he was writing a kind of sort of a little bit of a class warfare type book, he doesn't want necessarily his protagonists to be like the most amazing people, because that kind of defeats the purpose of it being like regular people versus rich psychos, which are the people who own the building, which I don't need to get into any more detail about. But yeah, he definitely does a good job of making the characters complicated, because they aren't particularly likable in most ways. Like, some are kind of justified better than others depending on your reading of the book. But yeah, it's definitely grimy. It's definitely not all of it. It's not going to be like a 100% I fucking love this book all the way through every single thing about it. You're not going to love every single thing about it, but you're probably going to like at least one thing. And I think that Nat Cassidy's writing is going to definitely take you through to a certain extent. Don't want to spoil it too much, but but goddamn, Charlie, Georgia. Who's the guy? Who's the husband? What was the husband's name? The woman's name was Anna. The husband's name was Reed. Yeah. And it's not Anna. By the way, she's definitely an Anna, all right? I won't spoil anything else about the book, but you should know that the one of the main characters' names, the woman who is the mother, her name is Anna. It's definitely not Anna. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean. She is an Anna, not an Anna. All right, and the Reed is definitely a Reed. All right. The husband, the father, he's a fucking Reed, if any has been portrayed in literature. All right, just letting you know. But you should definitely read the book. All right, definitely solid. That's Nat Cassidy's Nestlings. All right, let's do a quick rundown of any books and shit. Not books. God damn, shut the fuck up, dude. We're gonna talk about music a little bit, just a little bit, of music that I've brought into the fold recently. I know I put a shit ton out last episode, or not put a shit ton out, but spoke about a lot last episode. This is gonna be definitely a lot of stuff. I've gotten really into bossa nova recently, which is like kind of Latin American jazz. It's kind of like elevator music. It's probably the closest thing that you think of when you think of elevator music. But when you actually listen to it, it's very chill and relaxing, which is good for an elevator, because a lot of people are freaked out about elevators, which is probably why it's elevator music. But I definitely like it for studying. I definitely like it for doing research and things like that. João Gilberto, oh Jesus Christ, João Gilberto is good. He did a combined album with Stan Getz, who is a jazz musician, and João Gilberto. I don't know why I have so much fucking difficulty with that name, but it's a couple different syllables that I got to deal with. Jesus Christ, there's some fucking tweaker outside. I don't know what the fuck to do about that. Hopefully I can just talk over him. João Gilberto and Stan Getz. They did a collaborative album, and it was quite good. And it's on the bossa nova playlist. But generally, bossa nova, especially classical bossa nova, from the 50s through the 70s, definitely good stuff. João Gilberto, Antonio Carlos. Yeah, lots of people like that. There's definitely some more. I've been getting definitely into some more metal and things like that, and then a lot of other weirder shit. I've definitely talked about Failure. They were like a 90s band, but they put out a album recently. They're like alternative rock. They're not quite grunge. They're a little bit more like they're not quite shoegaze either. They're just kind of very semi-experimental sound of alternative rock, kind of heavy, a little bit metal, but they tend to go more melodic in their recent album. I have a band called A Long Winter, which I don't quite recognize. There's the Velveteers. More Isaiah Rashad, who I cannot recommend enough. He is so fucking good. Um, he's basically just a more he's so much more relaxed than a lot of like technical rappers like Kendrick Lamar, but he still puts out the same sort of feeling and meaning within his lyrics. And he can definitely rap in a technical manner when he wants to. There's a band called Suge with a song called Fleece. I don't remember what genre that is. So feel so sorry to Suge. I will probably figure that out eventually once I have them back. Once I review my list here. There is Corridor of Chameleons by Meshuggah. Meshuggah, of course. I have a million recommendations for Meshuggah. Corridor of Chameleons is off their album Chaos Sphere from around 1998, I believe. Very cool album, very good track. Just rips like so fucking good. There's the HU, made a song called Wolf Totem. There's I did download the one of the more famous songs that appeared in the show Invincible. Tom Tom by Holy Fuck. I added that to my playlist just so I would remember. Then there's one that's been a bit of a meme recently. It's a German, I guess probably more of a club / techno song called Gut Genug by Kitschkrieg, and collaborating with Blumengarten and some other people. But it's one that you've definitely heard before if you're listening to if you're finding a lot of memes on Instagram or TikTok. The guy is saying "Du bist gut genug." He's singing it. I can't do the falsetto right now, but he's basically saying "Du bist gut genug," and then it evolves into a techno beat where it's ooh. People love it. I know a little bit of German. It basically means "you are good enough," which is kind of like a song of affirmation, basically. Which, even though it's kind of just like techno slop, it does make you feel a little bit good inside, especially if you know the meaning. You are good enough. It's nice. Whatever. Don't care. Don't need to look any fucking deeper into it, okay? That's like most of the fucking song. It's a guy, Robin Calloway. He makes like probably alternative rock type music. There's a song called Seraphim 2. There's Paranul with a song called Beautiful World. I believe most of these are either shoegaze or a subgenre of alternative rock, or possibly dream pop type of thing. There's Cortex with Devil's Dance, which I believe is a little bit more punk and a little bit more hardcore. And then there's Sap, which is a band that I believe is from, at least tries to mimic the sound of the 90s. I don't know if they're from the 90s. It seems that on Spotify, most of their songs seem to be labeled as being from the recent late 2010s through 2020s. But I seem to recall that they might be from the 90s, although I might just be recalling a album name from the 90s or an EP by Alice in Chains, rather, called Sap. And then beyond that, there's Converge, which is a hardcore / screamo post-hardcore metal band. Very good. Can't recommend Converge enough. Or rather, I can recommend them a little bit. They're pretty good. Mastodon, after the tragic death of Brent, Ah, shit. Hang on. Let me just pull up his name real quick. Sorry, guys. Hang on. Hang on. Brent Hines. Sorry, I always forget his last name because none of those guys from Mastodon have like a very normal last name. Brent Hines was probably one of the greatest guitarists of the past 25 years. Um, I had the privilege of seeing him live a couple years ago, and it was very sad to hear his mental decline, and then his eventual sorry eventual death by misadventure on motorcycle. Um, I believe earlier this year, or possibly late last year. I don't quite remember. It's these years have really run the fuck together with terrible shit, but that was terrible. But Mastodon has come back with a new single called Your Ghost Again, which is a semi direct tribute to Brent Hines. So I would listen to that. Mastodon is just great in general. Very cool prog rock slash southern rock, alternative metal. Like they do all sorts of shit. Very cool. There's also Mongrel, which I believe I've brought up before. They're a very yeah, just a brutal like hardcore metalcore type band. There's a band called Design 19, which I don't quite remember what they do, but they're cool. Agriculture is a kind of an ecological black metal band that also does kind of symphonic metal a little bit and a little bit of ambient stuff. They generally make a lot of cool music. Some of it's like very harsh black metal, and then some of it's more ambient type of music with clean vocals. Overall, pretty cool. Thou is similar. Thou. They're also another band that's kind of like they kind of run along the lines of death metal, but also do kind of some symphonic stuff and some ambient. Um, they're not brutal all the time, but when they want to be, they are. Another metal band called Gulch. I don't remember what the fuck this is. And then Converge again. I also had Converge. ISIS. Already have talked about ISIS as a band. ISIS. I don't believe they have anything to do with the other group, perhaps. I sure hope not, because they make very solid, like kind of screamo music that's well grounded in instrumentals. Got Deafheaven, Nailbomb, which is the Cavalera brother. Which is the one? Alex Cavalera. Shit, it's one of the Cavaleras. I'm not even gonna look it up, but it's one of the guys from Sepultura. It's the guitarist and vocalist from Sepultura. He worked with another guy to make Nailbomb, which is a very cool super group from the late 90s. They made some really brutal stuff, and one of the songs is called World of Shit. They have other ones called they have other songs, but it's all off of a fucking Nailbomb. Damn, accidentally fucking played some music. Boom, more agriculture, Deafheaven. MK McGee is a kind of a little bit of more pop music, very chill stuff. He has good vocals, generally puts like some kind of funky guitar based slash electronic beat behind the vocals. It's cool stuff. Band called Acetone. I believe they're kind of like screamo, emo type of thing. Don't quite remember. And then I put on some, I downloaded some music by Baby Keem, who is Kendrick Lamar's cousin, who put on Family Ties, or was collaborating with him on Family Ties. Very good song. But Baby Keem is a very good rapper in his own right. Another emo screamo, Planning for Burial. There's Moonplate by shit. I believe it's called like Barrier or something like that. What is it called? Hang on. Let me pull this up again. I always fuck it up every time. California Nebula is the album. California Nebula. That's not the sound of any of the songs. Default. Yeah, that's the band. The band is called Default. And they had a song called Moonplate that I really liked. Um, Similar to another band that made a song called Constellations, which I don't even recognize. I believe that one's Japanese, the band that made Constellations. Moonplate is by Default, which is a Chinese shoegaze band that are I've already mentioned before, very cool. Robin Calloway, more alternative. Danger Mouse, he's makes a lot of interesting beats, along with Sparklehorse, which is made by a rather tragic figure of the music community who died from suicide in the early 2010s. Um, but Sparklehorse is pretty influential. He had a lot of collaborations with a lot of interesting artists, such as Julian Casablancas of The Strokes, Danger Mouse, and a number of other artists as well. I have a couple from Sparklehorse. More Earl Sweatshirt. Love Earl Sweatshirt. Can't get enough of him. Always listen to Earl Sweatshirt. JPEG Mafia. I started to listen to some of that. He's very interesting alternative rapper with a pretty fast and vicious flow, especially on the track Money. Nicholas Craven and Bolty James from another one. A artist, a rapper called Wiki, who had a song called Park that I enjoyed. I don't know much about Wiki, but he was pretty solid. GZA, RZA, Ghostface Killa from, I believe originally from 3 6 Mafia group, but put out a song called Fourth Chamber. Danger Mouse with MF Doom and Black Thought put out a song from probably over a decade ago called Belize. Lil Ugly Mane. As you could probably tell, I got into a little bit more of a rap playlist again. I added some more guys to my hip hop playlist. Um, you know, enjoy if you like, but if not, fuck you, whatever. A smaller band that I kind of got really into because I saw them live incidentally at one point was the Croaks. They have a song called Big Bug, which was really cool. That's like their closer. Very solid. There's also Rick Ross. I listened to some stuff from Rick Ross. Interpol has a new album out. And then my Bossa Nova playlist got me a couple of guys. There's a João Gilberto, who I already discussed earlier, and Antonio Carlos Jobim, and Frank Sinatra was also a notable figure within the bossa nova genre. He put his old Italian ass right into that genre, and he did his best, which was pretty good because Frank Sinatra's a pretty fucking great artist. You know, can't diss him that much. Anyway, all right, so that's about it from that. Any other movies and stuff? What are we looking at for time? Oh, okay. This is going pretty quick. I'm thinking that probably, yeah, I think I'm probably gonna talk about any other movies that I watched. Next week. Yep, next week is definitely gonna be that because I just want to get this out of the way, get my kind of loose reading of Nestlings out of the way, and get my music recommendations onto a fucking digital recording, whatever the fuck. Okay, I'm just gonna roll with this. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be fine. We're definitely gonna have more interesting shit next time because I have a lot to talk about with the next book that I started, and as well as some of the next topics that I had to go off of. I just didn't want to make this one too long. We're just gonna get this one out of the way, get this one uploaded real quick, real fast, real cool. Great stuff. All right, thank you for listening. Make sure to follow the podcast at OTNT Podcast on Blue Sky, on Mastodon, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. We're on TikTok. No, we're not on TikTok. Don't fucking listen to that. We're not on TikTok yet. But hopefully by the time that this is actually out, then maybe I'll make a fucking TikTok. That's me coaching myself by giving myself a deadline there because I need to get a fucking TikTok or something set up by the time that I put this out so people actually go there. But anyway, thank you for listening. Let me know if any of my takes were wrong. I don't think any of them were, but Let me know if you want me to do a further discussion on any of the previous topics, whether it's the book I talked about today or the books I've talked about in the past or movies I've talked about in the past. Got more movie discussions coming up, got more music discussions coming up. And I can go toe-to-toe with any one of you motherfuckers, all right? See you later. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.